And so government demands a lot. They really buy a lot of stuff and encourage demand. And so roads go through all of these things. Now remember, they did for railroads too, but to a lesser degree. Roads even bigger. There's no private roads. I mean, besides a driveway. All of them are owned by government. State, local, federal, in that order. Federal's a biggie. And so when people quit buying those two products, that affected everything. Did we get to the unemployment in Detroit?
No.
The unemployment rate in Detroit by 1932 was 50%. People were literally starving. There's going to be food riots in 31, massive food riots, and then a huge bloody march on the closed Ford factory in 32. Workers just desperate for a job. Oh, did you notice something when I gave it? I saw Megan looking at this. This is the worksheet for the video we're going to watch. Look what I gave you. A nice, concise little table of all the New York Deal acts. Aren't I nice? By the way, do you see why they call them alphabet soup? Oh. Sorry, Joe.
So Sweden is going to be used for regrets and march on.
No, all you need to know is Detroit. All you need to know is Detroit. Anybody want to guess the unemployment rate in Akron, Ohio?
16%.
75%. Anybody know what they make in Akron? Still Firestone's there. Yeah. Who buys tires if you can't buy cars? Akron. There's actually going to be a near revolution in Akron in the winter of 32, 33. People don't talk about it.
Are we talking about like revolution, independent from the U.S. revolution, or
more like an upheaval? Just we got to change the system. So don't think in terms of anything other than people are desperate and scared and thinking we need something new. We don't know what something new is. Okay. And so people could not buy stuff. So there's just not enough people buying. The people in Akron aren't unemployed because they're lazy. Does everyone catch that point? It's not like they're sitting there going, 75% all of a sudden said, let's just sit around and watch TV and eat bonbons. You know what bonbons are? Little chocolate-covered balls of ice cream. Ew. Huh? You don't like chocolate? Chocolate and ice cream, that's all it is.
It's like
Huh?
like
Yeah, it's just a little ball has ice cream in the middle, like a thin layer of chocolate on top.
so our dips basically?
Yeah, but it's ice cream. Yeah, you like that. Yeah, something like that. I don't know what dips are, but that's bonbons were the first. And I know it's free television. But not everybody did that. Don't. Wait a second. Now, the reason they're unemployed in Akron, I mean, the truth is no one's buying cars. But if you believe in trickle down or social Darwinism, what is your answer to 75% unemployment?
They're lazy.
They're lazy and they should be doing what?
getting a girl.
Get a job, you bum. Yeah, there's a problem here. I'm not saying there aren't lazy people who don't work. Some of you might be those lazy people who don't work. But they happen to come at all income levels. You'll find that out real fast. Go to a private college, and you'll find that out really fast. Do you ever know what I'm talking about? Yeah, oh boy. I went to Rocky. These guys would blow in for a semester. Incredibly rich. They go to classes, meaning they not go to classes. They study the whole time and then leave. If studying involved drinking as much alcohol as they could put in their body, yeah, that's what they would do because they're kind of, they knew that. So back to this. 2, gap between the rich and the poor. This is all being filmed. This is going live coast to coast. Why does my pens keep breaking? All right. I just want to see if it works. This was the highest income disparity in history up to this time. You know, there's always been a gap between the rich and the poor. And in the capitalist economy, you want a little bit of a gap. You want a little bit of a gap. The idea is so people on the bottom or aren't rich will envy those on top and work harder. Does it always work that way? But that's one of the ideas of it. Didn't you guys have to write like an essay prompt? Isn't envy good? I'm sorry, guys. I'm really sorry about that.
You have to do another one later.
I feel your pain. I would hate to have that question. But that's actually would be the answer. You can say sports too. That's good. So back to this. Okay, so the gap between rich and the poor. We don't know that it's hard to figure out wealth because wealth is so variable. At the height of the stock market boom in September of 1929, it's hard to even calculate how much wealth the very rich had because they're the ones who could afford to speculate. And when it crashed, they lost a lot of wealth. You know, the same thing happened in 2007, 2008. The rich had an incredible amount of wealth, and they lost a lot because of their stocks and their bonds lost value. But still, a conservative estimate in 1929 is that the richest 1% had 40% of the wealth. A conservative estimate, 29, 40% of the wealth. The bottom 90% had maybe 30% of the wealth. Anyone want to guess how much the bottom 50% had? One. Anyone want to guess what the bottom 50% had today? One. It's real. The wealth disparity is actually bigger today. And the reason why this is such a big deal is that as wealth more and more cycles to the top. Now, people could buy some of the products with debt, but eventually they got to quit buying. And a gap between the rich and the poor is an economic ticking time bomb. It's an economic ticking time bomb in a consumer economy. Once the U.S. went to a consumer economy where the country was reliant upon people buying stuff, if more and more Americans are either without money because of the gap, as their wages stagnate or drop, or they're worried someday they might be, they'll quit spending, they'll quit borrowing. And this always, in the long run, will drop demand. More demand will go down. Demand will drop. And you might say, well, the wealthy have a lot of money, they can buy a lot of stuff. Well, no, they can't. I mean, they'll buy a little bit. But seriously, how many cars could Bill Gates buy? Man, I don't say you could buy millions, but really, how many is he going to buy? 10, 20, 30? But that's not enough to make a difference for millions not buying cars. Does that make sense? And so that gap is there. And that is a real problem. You know, Henry Ford didn't shut down his factory in 1931 because he was short of money. He had all the money, he wouldn't know what to do with. Remember, I told you yesterday he built a town for his son. Didn't I tell you that one?
He was in an actual town.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he even hired poor from Detroit to come in and act like they were, to act the role in the city.
That's so weird.
Yeah, it's
Doesn't
creepy.
sound like weird.
Hey, he's creating jobs.
That wasn't something like that great in big town.
Nah, Henry Ford always dreamed that the world would go back to the way it was when he was a little kid before the car. Isn't that ironic? I'm telling you the truth. It would go back to this rural, idyllic life of the 1890s before cars. Interesting guy.
Yeah.
He was a brilliant auto manufacturer and knew nothing else. Literally nothing else. But demand drops. This is an economic ticking time bomb. So you know the first two things, what do we have the big problem? Low demand. Oh, by the way, what do we call it? If demand drops and that we also have that boom bust, that curve downward, what's happening? What do we call that curve? Deflationary curve. So prices are dropping. Yeah, you might think great if you're a consumer, but it's not good. Overall, dropping demand will lead to deflation. we had in essence deflation from about 2009 to about 2011, 2012. Now we have very low inflation. Europe is in deflation right now. And deflation is the worst thing that happened to the economy. For lots of reasons, but let's get to number 3. Oh, before we get to number 3, let's not go to that. Let's go to, first off, the financial system. The financial system was a disaster. No regulations, no rules, nothing in the financial system. An absolute disaster. Some states have rules, some states don't. Remember when I talked about New Jersey changing their laws? Remember that? Well, once New Jersey did, and they basically got rid of the controls, every state followed, and that included with banks. So there were no controls on loans, no controls on debt, none. Banks have what's called a fiduciary responsibility to make responsible loans. Actually, it's the law today. They're not supposed to give loans to people who can't afford it. They're not supposed to. They do all the time, I know. You know, that's how you make money, because they can charge higher interest rates to poor people. But they were making loans to anybody. Everything. Heck, the banks were loaning to other banks. The banks were taking depositors' money and buying risky loans from other banks. They were actually buying stocks with depositors' money. And there was no control at all. So banks were doing anything they wanted. Banks were making incredibly risky loans. People were depositing money in a bank, and then it was going out for risky loans. If the bank shuts its doors, what happens to the depositor's money? And also in the financial system, there was no regulation of the stock market. The stock market had no rules. And so nobody had any idea, we talked about this yesterday, of what kind of stocks they were selling. There was stock watering, which is essentially selling fake stock. People were shorting the market, trying to guess that it would go down. There were naked short selling going on all the time. It's not as obscene as it thinks.
How do you short the market?
Basically what shorting means is you're betting that the stock market will drop.
Yeah, but how do you make money on that?
How do you make money? What happens is this. What you do is if you bet the stock market will go down, you get stock. Somehow you get stock. And you sell it. You sell the stock when the value is high, then buy it back when the stock is low. And you make that difference.
What do you mean you make it?
Well, because you still have the stock, but then you get the gain you got from selling it when it was high.
Oh, so basically you sell it out. Huh? So that's the same thing as you normally do, isn't it?
No, remember, stock market, you want to buy low, sell high. It's speculation. Shorting is buy high, or sell high, buy low. I know, but it's opposite direction. And naked short selling is shorting, is selling stock like that you don't own. Yeah, isn't it amazing? You can sell stock you don't own. Oh, you have no idea how the stock market works. You have no idea. And then people were buying like insurance on stocks. They didn't have money to pay it back. I can't even go into all the complexities of the market. But let's just put it this way. Just imagine that everybody is intertwined. All these banks are loaning and borrowing money, stock markets loaning, borrowing money, and everything relied upon debt. Everybody's borrowing to buy everything. You remember rules on margin, where you could put 10% down and buy $1 million worth of stock? Well, this is what people were doing. People were buying, they get $1 million, buy $10 million of stock, and then turn around and use that $10 million of stock to another bank and use that as the collateral to buy $100 million of stock. You see what just happened? And so on and so on. And then you had this amazing thing where you had Bank A loaning money to all these investors. Where did they get the money? Bank B. Where? To Bank C. Or Bank B got it from C. C from D. You get the point what I'm making here? D got it from E. Where did E get the money from?
Investors.
A. All it takes is one bank to go under and the whole thing collapses. And you know, I say that and it sounds so simple and obvious. No, it's even worse than what I made it. They have these things called investment trusts that people were taking insurance on stocks with money that didn't exist. You would not believe the stuff that was going on in the stock market. But what happened was when it collapsed, the whole thing collapsed. The whole banking system collapsed at once. Everything collapsed. The stock market collapsed. There were no financial regulations, no controls, and that's where we get the panic. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, but that would lead to a nationwide disaster. And the problem was, once the banks started going, everybody has this debt. Yeah.
Why didn't no one like see this coming at all?
Well, some did, but nobody's. A few did. They sold early or made some warnings. Same thing happened in 2007. But most people said, you don't know what you're talking about. We're all going to get rich. Shut your mouth. Right? Once again, I think I said the Upton Sinclair quote before. It's right over Anna. It's difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on his not understanding it. Right? You see that with a lot of things. Finance, climate change. Those are the two things I can think of. You can probably keep going on. Education. All right. And here's another amazing facet about a bank. What is an asset for a bank? Now you know. Let's see if anybody else knows. What's an asset for a bank? Banks have to keep a certain amount of assets online to pay the depositors back. When people get a savings account in a bank, that money's immediately lent out. And so the idea is they have to keep a little bit on hand in case people want to take their money out. If everybody comes at once to a bank. But what's an asset for a bank? Okay, obviously money, you have to have money in the vault. That's an asset. That makes sense? But what else is an asset? They could claim, oh yeah, we're safe, we have assets. Stocks. Stocks could be. Could be. Those actually are assets. But there's even a bigger one. You know what it is?
Yeah.
Debt. Debt is an asset for a bank. Actually, Taylor, you're right. Those are used as stocks too, but the big one is debt. Debt is the biggest asset for a bank. Think of it this way. What do you call a loan that people take out to buy a house? A mortgage. So, let's say you go to the bank, and I'm not going to go how this works today. You'll blow you away how it works today. But let's say you go to Valley Bank, because it's nearby, right? Go to the Valley Bank, take a loan out, you get a mortgage, buy a house. And the thing is, you're going to pay $1,000 a month, which, by the way, is really low today, for 30 years. It's a really comforting feeling when you sign your life away. I pledge now for the next 30 years that the bank owns me. It's a really wonderful feeling. If your parents have a mortgage, ask them how much fun it is to know every month you owe $1,000. That's a little scary. If you lived in a big city, it would be 4 or 5 times more. Cost of living. So, go. That's a mortgage. So you have this piece of paper saying, okay, so who's going to get the house? Abby bought a house, right? Good job. Bought a house. And let's say I'm the bank. $1,000 a month. I have this piece of paper saying you're going to pay $1,000 a month, right? That's now an asset. I can say that $1,000 a month, that's money I have. Because you're going to pay me back, right? Right. But now I can say that's an asset. So think about it. All these people are borrowing money to buy stock. What are the banks saying? That's an asset. I can use that as collateral. Or I can sell it to another bank. Or I can break it up into little pieces and sell those to other banks.
So you're not even taking
Or I can break it up into 1,000,000 pieces. I'm actually not making this up.
So you're like doing stuff with money that's not really there yet?
Yes.
and then
But it is there because it says you're going to pay it back.
you're paying back like other people are paying back.
Yeah.
So the stock money crashed, all the money was just
So all the assets that people thought they had, gone. And what do they have? They had all these pieces of paper saying somebody owes me money. Are they going to pay me back? I don't know. You see the problem now? Nobody knows that the banks have money. But they have a great name for it today. They call that a toxic asset.
Can you like demand that someone like pay you more of the money 1 month and you're like you'll have like time taken off but I need like $5,000.
What, say it again?
Well, like if the bank is running out of money, could they go to someone and be like, I need you to give me $5,000 this month?
No, because it's a contract. And so even though the bank has all the advantage in the contract, that's still written in the contract that they can make a deal with you, but they can't make you.
No.
And they can't make you pay
Is
more.
that still an asset today?
Oh, yeah.
So that-
Oh, you have no idea. Is that pretty close? You think they have no idea?
Yeah, no.
You have no idea how complex it
There's
is.
numbers.
We did in special topics. We did a 2008 crash. It would blow you away how
Also,
complex.
makes you really sad.
And we just chipped away a little bit at it. It's the kind of thing that if you really think about it, you probably shouldn't sleep at night. Am I exaggerating? I'm not exaggerating. So, on that note, good luck. 4, debt deflation. So everybody's in debt. Does that make sense now? Everybody's in debt. Personal debt was greater than the size of the economy. Everybody's in debt. And you have banks in debt. You have businesses in debt. You have investors in debt. You have people in debt. You have everybody in debt. And so what do people do when everyone's in debt? Well, first off, well, no, I jumped the gun there. When everyone's in debt, everybody does the same thing. Think about it. I have too much debt. I borrowed way too much money. What should I do? Before you pay it back, you got to do what? How do you get the money? People quit spending. They quit spending and or investing. They got to quit spending. They can't spend as much, so they got to start digging down their debt. You know, if you have, what? You can't read it? Oh, I put quit spending. You do quit spending.
Spend everything now.
Happy?
Is it crossed out?
Yeah, so just spend. Spend like mad. Hey, just give it to me, I'll invest it for you. Everybody quit spending. They quit investing. Thinking, I gotta save my money. I gotta save my money. And what's the other thing they do? So you have too many stocks. You bought an extra house. You bought 16 boats. What do you do?
So
Sell. Everybody begins selling assets at once. The banks start selling off foreclosed homes that people couldn't pay back their debts. People start selling off their extra stuff. People start selling it's just like people started selling stock in the stock market. Well, you see what's going to happen here? Everybody at the same time does this. Now, on a personal level, that's a responsible thing to do. On the national level, it's a disaster because look at the two big effects. First off, what happens to the price of assets if everybody sells at once?
go down.
Yeah, so you have massive deflation. What happens if everybody quits spending at once? What happens? What drops dramatically? Prices. Well, prices will drop because people aren't buying the stuff, and so what drops? What causes the prices to drop? Demand drops. Because you said all the effects of dropping demand. Demand goes down. Also, people aren't buying stuff all at the same time. Once again, on a personal level, that makes sense. If everybody does it at once, it's a disaster. Because, think about what happens. Okay, I'm not getting as much money back from my assets as possible, so I'm still have a lot of debt. I quit spending money, so the economy gets worse. Because of what happens? Lower demand. What happens to the economy with lower demand? What happens to more people start losing their jobs? The economy gets worse. So more people said, I gotta pay back my debt. So what do? Sell all their stuff, quit spending, the economy gets worse. What do? Sell all their stuff, and it keeps cycling and cycling and cycling. If everybody saves money at once, the economy tanks. Here's an economic rule. Your spending is my income. Now, don't think in terms of directly, if Taylor goes out and buy, what's kind of frivolous? Like, no, you wouldn't be frivolous. If Teresa goes out and buys 16 boats, she buys a dreadnought.
Can I take a ride on the dreadnought?
I wouldn't directly make spending. So think in terms of the wider thing. Why would you buy a dreadnought? Where would you put it?
Backyard.
Backyard. In dry dock. But if people don't spend money, everyone's income drops. Everyone's income drops. And so what happens is no one is spending, income drops, and they keep doing it. Ironically, some people's debt you might improve, but overall, what happens to debt? Debt inflation. Overall, actually goes up. Debt actually increases if everybody saves at once. Why? Because the economy gets so much worse. The economy gets so much worse. If there's deflation, what happens to the value of the dollar?
Goes down.
No. Deflation. What happens to the value of a dollar? The value of the dollar goes up. Prices drop. Inflation value. And so, when people pay back their debt, they're paying back dollars of greater value. Does that make sense? If there's deflation, if I borrowed it 10 years ago, money, and I pay it back today and there's been deflation, I'm paying back dollars of greater value than 10 years ago. I'm paying back more. And so, the economy gets worse. Next. And so this is a really bad problem. And once again, do you catch? It's always demand, isn't it? We always come back to demand. I forgot something. I forgot something here. Add credit freeze for financial. I'm sorry, I had a cold. Actually, I've only had one major cold this year. Don't you feel good about me? For me? Don't you feel good for me? You do, really? I think you're making that. Are you saying that because I asked you, prompted you? No. A credit freeze. In the financial problem, when there's no financial regulation, and when the market does freeze, or I'm sorry, when banks collapse, nobody loans any money. If nobody loans money, that really hurts demand. Really hurts it. Everyone's afraid. I don't trust anybody anymore. Frankly, Teresa, I'm not going to loan you money for your stupid dreadnought. Aircraft carrier, maybe, but not a dreadnought. 5, the government. The government. The government did nothing wrong. Now, that's my favorite government story. Want to hear my government story? When I was a youth, in college, my summer job was delivering beer, and we're in Jordan, Montana, in Stockman's Bar, because every small town has to have a Stockman's Bar. And what we're doing is, since I was a temporary guy, the full-time guy was getting the receipt signed. And I'm kind of standing there at the bar just waiting. It was like 8 in the morning in Jordan, Montana. God, my dream retirement. But I'm sitting there, sorry, Jordan, and I'm sitting there in Jordan, Montana, and there's these couple old farmers there, and they were whining about the government. They were saying, "Damn government tells us what to do. The government, government." And I couldn't sure if there was a V or not, but I'm pretty sure it was just government. The government, the government, and they were like, "Government just, I'm just tired of the government." I'm sitting there going, "Geez, they must hate the government, whatever the government is." And then the best part is, then the guy said, "Hey, have you got your crib checked yet?" That's a conservation program that they pay farmers, the government pays farmers not to grow crops for to preserve wildlife. A government program. And he goes, "Yeah, but I haven't got my subsidies for my sheep yet." Which is a government program that gives them money. So they were whining about the government and then complaining that their checks weren't fast enough from the government. I thought that was the classic example of people who hate the government. Damn government, love that road. Okay, so the government. Back to the government. The government either did everything wrong or didn't do it at all. They didn't know what to do. And there were certain government problems. The first one was the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve should have raised interest rates dramatically during the bubble, but they kept them low. The Federal Reserve kept interest rates low in the bubble, which encouraged speculation. And then, in bad times, they should have lowered the interest rates. They actually raised interest rates. The Federal Reserve raised interest rates when the economy began to sink, thinking that would help banks. It was the exact opposite thing they should have done. They just didn't know. People knew, but these were bankers who run the Federal Reserve. We know how banks work. No, they don't. We've had a similar problem today. The Federal Reserve did try to lower interest rates. The problem was they were already so low that when the crash started, the recession started, they went down, they lowered them. But the problem is they're at zero. Zero is zero. You understand what zero means? You can't go any lower. Well, technically you can, but I don't know how it works. Next, trickle down. Hoover insisted that programs should still be trickle down. To his point of view, if the economy is crashing, who should the government help? The wealthy, because they'll start creating jobs. And so there are a couple different government programs that try to pump money into wealthy businesses. But why were businesses not producing goods? Why did Henry Ford shut down his factory? No one was buying. So you give Henry Ford more money, and what does he do? Yeah, he built his son another car. I'm sorry, another town. Actually, what he started doing is giving his son Edsel gold.
Do people live in the town?
No, it's still there though. It's like a Ford museum. Yeah, and on the museum is the Ford that John F. Kennedy was assassinated.
That's so weird.
How big of a town are we talking?
No. It was supposed to be a town of like 500 people, he always said. So it was a good size for a fake town.
Yeah.
Next.
Did he like furniture?
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh, before I get to this, I started writing Holly down. I didn't explain what I'm writing down. Holly? What they thought was, okay, if people aren't buying enough American goods, let's keep out foreign goods. What's the way that governments keep out foreign goods? They raise what? Tariff. So they had a massive increase in tariff. Terrible mistake. It's called the, what is it called? It's the Hawley Smoot tariff. Smoot! Tariff. Smoot, who is a senator from Utah. Once again, there's two great things about Smoot. Children, right? Children, Smoot, Smoot. And if you're in an argument with somebody and losing, what do? You look them right in the eye and go, Smoot! They will know what the heck to do and you just won. Right? Try it. Someone argue with you. Taylor. Come on, let's go. Smoot! There, victory is mine. All right, so they raised the tariff. Well, what did every other major trading partner of the United States do? Like Britain, France. They raised their tariffs. International trade, which was already low, stopped. So the time we'd like to be trading our surplus, nobody was trading. This actually had really bad effects. Because if everybody became more isolated in their own countries, it made the 30s even more dangerous. We're coming to war. Next. Stuff. Where am I at? Trickle down Federal Reserve, Hawley Smoot. I'm sorry. Smoot! Austerity. Austerity means cutting government spending. And what happened is this. When there is a depression, when there's bad economic times, debt goes up. Government debt goes up because people quit spending. People quit paying taxes. Tax revenues drop, government debt goes up every single time there's a recession. For example, in 2010, the US government deficit for 1 year was $1.6 trillion. Because government spending will go up in a debt because there's more, go up in a depression because there's more poor, and revenues drop. Now, what Hoover did, and many in Congress thought, we got to cut spending because we have too much debt. Well, if they cut spending all at the same time, what does government build again?
Everything.
Roads. All of a sudden they quit building roads, all the jobs for maintaining roads gone. Don't you have more unemployment, lower demand? If you already have demand low for debt deflation, austerity makes it worse. Austerity makes it worse. Government spending drops, all of this drops demand. Have you caught something? Have you caught everyone's connected to what one thing? Demand. Demand, and well, debt relates, but it's demand. There's not enough demand. Number 6, a loss of confidence. What happened is once it started, everybody just lost confidence in the system. Well, first in themselves. You know, they thought I must be a failure for not having a job, but then it went to eventually, we're going to get it started. We're going to start the movie right now. And this is called about that drop in confidence. It's got a great name.